All right. So last thing I want to end with is that another week, another massive security breach in the world of open source that was announced. So this one was a there's a level of scoring that CVE, I forget what exactly. Let's see, CVE. There are CV. I forget what exactly it is, but basically there's a score that's given to bugs as they're kind of announced in the wild, and this was 10. Basically the highest level you could possibly ever have for a code. And what it did is it affects React server components. And essentially the way that this attack works is that it's in the payload decoding. The way that server components work is that it has some sort of information from the front end, it sends it to your back end, it deconstructs that data in some way. It then sends that information back to the component so it can display that to the user. Well, when it's decomposing that information, there was a compromise that was found that left a back door open that could essentially lead to the ability for a hacker to run code on your server, which means they could steal your data, they could steal your credentials, they could laterally move to other servers on your network, which is a huge red flag. And the problem with this is that it was so it's and it is and it's something we have to now go through and look at all of our packages because we use Next.js, which uses React server components. So this was something that was put out on here. So the main packages that were there was present in were versions 19, 19.1, 19.1.1, and 19.2 of the React Server DOM Webpack, the DOM Parcel, and the DOM Turbo Pack. However, there were fixes introduced in 1901, 19.1.2, and 19.2.1. So if you're using any of these packages, you need to update immediately. Like, just stop what you're doing, update it immediately. But if you're using any of these packages, you're good, probably always good to update it. And there's a whole bunch of information on here, how to update it. It also talks about which next versions are affected as well. So one of the things they recommend is that it should upgrade to the latest patch version, which is, it talks about how to upgrade here. And if you're on different versions, you could also downgrade to the latest version of 14. Like I said, this is kind of one of those that we need to go through all of our clients and everyone that uses React, which are all of them, including our own products. So we need to make sure that we're addressing this as well. So once again, another week, another security issue. Yeah, so some of the frameworks that were also, so I mentioned Next.js, but React Router, which is commonly used on applications, Vite.js, which is another common framework that's used, Waku, Expo, and basically any custom framework using React server components, which is almost all of them. So this is a pretty big bug. One of the things that I thought was interesting was the timeline of this. I know I don't have it in here, but it was actually, this bug and this vulnerability was discovered on November 28th or 29th. Validated it and started working on a fix on the 30th. They announced it and rolled it out of how the fix was there and that the vulnerability existed on the 3rd of December. And then I just found out about it yesterday. Because with this, there's a whole, there's a whole dance that you need to do to say, when should we announce this? Because there's that opportunity that one, you say that this vulnerability exists and this is how hackers are using this. Well, now hackers know that this exists and that they could start utilizing it to find vulnerable systems, and they kind of have a North Star of where to go. That's why there's usually a time they want to, be able to give people time to be able to fix it, but this is something that now that it's been announced should be done. So today I recommend just going through, looking if any of these packages are affected and deploy them within the next 48 to 72 hours. And that is